Alright, so we're moving on to my second shelf here, and we're continuing on with the crime films. Crime, thrillers, mysteries, that sort of a thing. So let's get right into it. Forgive me because I'm in a very uncomfortable position here. We got The Hunter. This is Steve McQueen's last movie. Final performance here, Forgive the Shadow. Haven't seen that one. We've got In Bruges. I really love that film. That's Martin McDonagh. He recently did 3 Billboards in Missouri, which I haven't seen. We've got The Jacket. This is a kind of a forgotten one. Forgive the glare. The Jacket with Adrian Brody, Keira Knightley. Not bad. A very twisty, Twilight Zone-ish kind of thriller that reminds me of The Machinist. I get these two mixed up quite a bit. But The Jacket, I really do like that movie. I've seen it a couple times. Judgment Night. Hell yeah. Judgment Night is awesome. This is Stephen Hopkins, Emilio Estevez, Cuba Gooding Jr., I think Dennis Leary is the villain in this, and basically these dudes take a wrong turn one night and get into some shit with the local gangsters. Really cool movie. Definitely check this one out if you haven't. Ugh. Yeah, this is not gonna go very well. Killers. This is interesting. I want to check this one out because I like Mike Mendez. Nope, that's not Mike Mendez. Okay, see ya. Killa Season. I was a big fan. I'm a big fan of hip hop, and in the when I was in high school, Dipset was the cool thing. Cameron, Joel Santana. This is his. It's Water Damage, but this is his. I don't know, gangster film that he did. He was also in Paid in Full as Rico. He did a really great job. But Kill a Season, not expecting too much from this one. But since I was a Dipset fan, you know, I had to pick this one up. Moving on, we got King of the Ants. That's Stuart Gordon, one of the few of his that I haven't seen. Knock Around Guys. I remember liking that one. Let's see, Cuffs. Mila Jovovich, Christian Slater film. Not many people talk about. I really do enjoy that. The Limey. This is a Soderbergh movie that I've yet to see. I haven't even opened it. This stars, what's his name? Terrence Stamp. It's kind of an English gangster film. Gets out of prison and I guess gets into some shit. Definitely got to check this one out. I haven't yet. Actually should be in my gangster area. Man Bites Dog. Haven't seen this one either. Criterion release. This is a found footage film that I hear takes things to a whole nother level. As you can see, there's a pacifier with a whole bunch of blood. So, yeah, I'm interested. Manhunter, the forgotten Hannibal Lecter movie. I really like this one. Brian Cox plays Hannibal Lecter. This is a Michael Mann film. Not many people talk about, for obvious reasons. You know, Silence of the Lambs basically silenced this one. And William Peterson, who I kind of on and off with. I'm not a big fan of Live and Die in L.A., but Manhunter I did enjoy. Very cool movie. Definitely need to upgrade to Blu-ray on that one. Matchstick Men, a Ridley Scott film nobody really talks about, that I like, that has a killer twist at the end. Nicolas Cage, you know, I am a fan of him. Miami Blues, not a bad Alec Baldwin film here. Just a straight-up crime thriller kind of movie. MPD, I haven't seen that one. I think is this Miike? Yeah, Takashi Miike. Haven't seen that one. I hit or miss on his films for me. He pumps out so many that it's like, I don't know, some are good, some not so much. My arms are getting very tired. Narc. I do like Narc. This is one of the few films that David Ayer has anything to do with that I enjoy. Very gritty crime thriller here. Jason Patric and Ray Liotta. Really cool movie. Narrow Margin. Recently watched this one. Gene Hackman, Peter Hyams film that takes place on a train. It's sort of a... he gets framed and it's got some action. It's one of those sort of films where they're trying to silence him and his witness. So really enjoyed this one. I love Peter Hyams films and the look of his films. He lights all of his films naturally with natural light. He does it himself. He's his own director of photography, and I admire that. I really admire that. I don't think he's the best filmmaker in the world, but definitely a solid one with some great movies like Sudden Death and Time Cop and Outland with Sean Connery. Some more hood movies here. I'm a big fan of things like Boys in the Hood and Fresh and Juice. New Jersey Drive is another really good one. It's sort of a Grand Theft Auto sort of a movie where they focus on these kids who steal cars and get into some shit over their heads. Nick of Time. This is an underrated little thriller. Christopher Walken as the villain. He does great. Johnny Depp as sort of the guy that gets in over his head. John Badham film. Really enjoy Nick of Time. It's short, it's sweet, Hitchcockian thriller. Definitely check out Nick of Time if you haven't seen it. Out of Time, I remember not really liking that one too much the first time I saw it. It's in the collection because I want to give it another whirl because I like Denzel. Panic Room, this needs a Blu-ray, man. I mean, how this doesn't have a Blu-ray is beyond me. Maybe one's gotten announced, I haven't heard of it though. David Fincher, Panic Room, pretty much the David Fincher film that nobody talks about, this and The Game. Two films that I love. The Game, one of my favorites of his, but Panic Room is really good too. Jodie Foster, Forrest Whitaker, Dwight Yoakam, and I think Jared Leto too. Really great cast. Payback. Now, if you've seen my Blu-ray collection videos, I do have this on Blu-ray, but this version is better because the Blu-ray has this stupid director's cut on it, which is no bueno. Doesn't have the original cut. This is the cut you want to see. Mel Gibson, badass, jazzy score. This is, what's his name? Brian Helgeland at his finest in terms of his writing. I think, did he direct this one too? Yes, he directed this one as well. So, really great film noir with Mel Gibson, who just wants his money back. It's not even a big sum of money. It's like $40,000 or whatever. I just want my money, man. That's all. And really great performance by Mel Gibson. I'm a huge fan of Mel Gibson. I don't care how crazy he is in real life. He's a madman. And I love his directed films, and I love him as an actor. Postmortem, that is a Charlie Sheen, Albert Pyun 7 ripoff. Not bad. Prince of the City, that's an early Treat Williams miniseries. Moving down here, let's see, we still got some more crime thriller types of movies here. Ransom, another underrated Mel Gibson movie where it's about his son getting kidnapped and him going on TV and talking about his son getting kidnapped and the ransom that they want and all this and that. Really cool movie. I remember seeing this back in the day with my parents. A lot of it probably went over my head, so I do want to check it out again. Red Rock West, a lot of people love this movie. I wasn't too impressed with it. Nick Cage, Dennis Hopper, great performances, but John Dahl, his films are hit or miss for me. I wasn't a huge fan of this one, but I do want to give it another whirl at some point. Rising Sun, a Michael Crichton movie that with Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes, a recipe for something I'd enjoy, but not a great film. I wasn't impressed by it. I thought maybe I was expecting more sci-fi. That's a Philip Kaufman film, the guy who did one of my favorite movies of all time, actually, Invasion of the Body Snatchers from '78. Romeo is Bleeding. Really surprised by this one. Great score by Mark Isham? What's his name? Mark Isham. I got it. Yay. Directed by Peter Medak. This is a really cool film noir sort of film with Gary Oldman. Just, another great performance by Gary Oldman that nobody talks about. Juliette Lewis, Lena Olin. Really cool, pulpy film noir film from the 90s that nobody talks about. I've seen a lot of these now here. Romper Stomper, really good sort of Australian film in the vein of American History X. So Russell Crowe, early Russell Crowe, as you can see there. Really good flick. Safe House is a TV movie with Patrick Stewart about a man with dementia or Alzheimer's. He's starting to lose his memory, and he used to be in the FBI, so you can imagine it gets kind of twisty and turny. Serpico, a classic with Al Pacino. Look at how young he is. Great movie where he plays a down and dirty cop that takes no shit. Seven Ups, that is a sort of an offshoot of the French Connection movies with Roy Scheider. Haven't seen it, in fact. Shallow Grave, a great Danny Boyle movie. One of his earliest. Really cool Hitchcockian thriller here. Loved this movie when I saw it. Australian crime film with Sam Neill, who does just a great job. He gets into a whole bunch of shit, again, over his head. That's sort of the theme with crime thrillers, right? But he gets put in a jail, he gets framed, and has to fight his way to freedom, quite literally. And it's a really cool film. Not an action film or anything, but really, really cool crime thriller. And love Sam Neill. So this is really early Sam Neill, full-on accent. This is from the 70s, I believe. So, yeah. Really awesome movie with a double feature with Smash Palace. So hard DVD to find. The Ridley Scott film that no one talks about, the least talked about Ridley Scott film, Someone to Watch Over Me, where Berenger plays a bodyguard of a affluent woman here played by Mimi Rogers. And I don't remember much of the details, but I do remember enjoying it because it just has that Ridley Scott 80s vibe to it, that neon streets, that, you know, like Black Rain and Blade Runner, that same sort of a look. You know, it's not a futuristic movie, but it still has that noir look to it that I love with the stuff that Scott was doing in the 80s. South Central, I actually haven't seen that one yet. Some more hip-hop movies from the early 2000s. State Property, I was a big State Property fan. Beanie Siegel and Freeway and all those cats. Rockefeller. You know, I saw these when I was younger. Haven't seen them in years. But I like collecting these movies because it brings me back to high school. So, Street Smart, that's a canon crime film there. I haven't seen it. Morgan Freeman, young Morgan Freeman. I think Morgan Freeman plays like a pimp. And Christopher Reeve. So, Suicide Kings, Christopher Walken movie. Great little crime film. Quirky, post-Tarantino sort of thing that not many people talk about. Suicide Kings, where a bunch of inept hitmen and you know, mobsters kidnap a boss and try to extort him and hold him for ransom. Things don't go so well. Switchback. This one's notable for a couple things. Dennis Quaid, I like Dennis Quaid. It's from 97, I believe it is. And Danny Glover plays a villain. A really cunning villain, too. Really cool mystery thriller here. Yep, 97. A little overlong, but it's really awesome seeing Danny Glover just being a seething bad guy with a cowboy hat. Let's see what this is. Third World Cop. This is a Jamaican gangster film. So there you go. That rounds out the crime films. So now we move... Well, actually, it doesn't round out the crime films. We move on to a subgenre of my crime films, which is gangster films. And then we have heist films. And then prison films. So that'll round out the crime. Billy Bathgate, one of the few 90s mobster movies I haven't seen. Bugsy, I've seen this one a couple times. One of the early ones I checked out in my youth when I was like 13, getting really into gangster films. I've mentioned before that gangster films were really the first type of film that made me view film as art. Goodfellas, Godfather, Scarface. Again, growing up in the early 2000s during the Scarface hip-hop era, I really gravitated towards these movies. And being Italian and Irish myself, it lent towards it. And having a bunch of Italian friends and growing up around Italian people, there was something really cool about that world that intrigued me. So Bronx Tale, such a wonderful movie. One of the few that Robert De Niro's directed along with, you know, Good Shepherd. Great movie. Not so much a mobster film. It's more a coming-of-age mobster film. That's how I would describe it. Great performances by everybody involved here. You got Chaz Palminteri, Robert De Niro. I forget what the kid's name is, but he does an awesome job too. I think his name was Colagero, something like that. Very Italian name, but great movie. Robert De Niro's directorial debut. Check it out. All right, I'm sweating profusely. Let's see. Dirty Deeds, Australian gangster film. Not bad. I remember enjoying this one. John Goodman, Sam Neill, Brian Brown in the lead role. It's always good to see him in a lead role. I love the FX movies. Let's see. Exiled. Oh my fucking God, folks. One of the greatest gangster films of all time. It's up there with Goodfellas. This is Hong Kong's Goodfellas. Johnny To, I have goosebumps on my back right now talking about this film. The most beautiful gangster film you will ever watch in terms of its aesthetic and the way it looks and its style. It reeks of style. Wonderful movie that I need to get on Blu-ray. It's not on Blu-ray in this country, but God, it's violent, it's stylized like no other gangster film you've ever seen. You know, it's such a wonderful movie. One day I'll talk about this in depth. Anthony Wong is the lead role here, and it's just such a poignant performance. It's like a buddy gangster film, you know? It's about these dudes who are on one last job, and they're getting into some shit that's way over their heads, and they want to go out with a bang, and it's, man, wonderful. Wonderful film. Exiled. Check it out. Gotti. I remember watching this one. This is the quintessential John Gotti film with Armand Assante playing Gotti. It's a great TV movie. It's a billion times better than the recent Travolta Gotti movie. Oh my Gotti, that movie sucky. This is the one to see. Disregard that the John Travolta one even exists. It's one of the worst greatest hits mob movie bullshit that I've ever seen. It's like the movie I would have made in high school when I was like 14, 15 years old. It's like the movie I would have made because I thought I was super cool and understood gangster culture. It's like, don't watch the new Gotti. Watch this Gotti from the 90s. Hoodlum. Awesome movie. Well, not an awesome movie. A good movie that I remember quite a bit. This one was interesting to me because it had African-American gangsters in the 30s, Jewish gangsters, Dutch Schultz, and things like that. Really cool. I do enjoy this movie still. It doesn't have a Blu-ray release to my knowledge. The Last Don, this is obviously Godfather font there. This is a TV gangster movie I've yet to see. Heard really good things, actually. The DVD's out of print. This has some really shitty mafia movies on it, but I got it because it's got an early Pesci film called Family Enforcer, which actually, it's bad. I mean, it's the equivalent of like a low-budget slasher in terms of a mob movie, but it's got Joe Pesci being Joe Pesci and beating people up with bats, so can't complain. Mobsters, I actually talked about this one at some point early on my channel with what I've watched. Watched this one as a kid, really liked it. Watched this one as an adult, not so much. Christian Slater, mobster film. He plays Lucky Luciano. It's a really commercialized, mainstream sort of gangster movie. Not bad, but not very good. Picked this one up recently at a yard sale of all things. Nitty the Enforcer. This is out of print, like really hard to find apparently. Haven't seen it. Prohibition era. This one's cool. I have some of these on Blu-ray in my Prohibition Gangster Blu-ray set. That is awesome. But Little Caesar, which I have seen. Public Enemy, which I've seen as well. Two great prototype gangster films. You know, this is Little Caesar's look at here. See? It's like that sort of stereotype. That's where this came from. Ernest G. Robinson. Roaring Twenties, I think that's Bogart. Smart Money. Haven't seen those two, but obviously a really cool set. Satya. I don't discriminate when it comes to gangster films. I want to see them all from every different country. This is Satya. This is I haven't opened it yet, but this is a Indian gangster film. Supposed to be one of the best. I believe it's from the 90s. So it's also 3 hours long and probably has music bits. So I got to carve out a good chunk of time to see this because I do want to see it. Love getting different perspectives on crime and gangsterism in other countries. Sexy Beast, a great performances across the board by Ray Winstone and Ben Kingsley. But I believe Kingsley was nominated for this one as supporting. And he plays just a very cunning, well-spoken, and articulate, and ultimately evil gangster. Very simple story. It's a bottle movie, all takes place in one spot. Can't say too much about this one without spoiling it, but really cool movie. I think this is Miike here. Shinjuku Triad Society. Yep, Miike, haven't seen that one. Shatas! This is a Jamaican mob film. Again, Jamaican gangster film. Very cool stuff. Again, one I saw in my teens in high school when I used to listen to reggae and obviously hip-hop and all that kind of stuff. It kind of went hand in hand back then. And yeah, cool movie. Jamaican Gangsta. The Sicilian. Haven't watched this one yet. Every time I pull it out, it's like, I look at it, it's like 4 hours long. The Sicilian. Christopher Lambert. This is Michael Cimino. Oh, almost lost it. Michael Cimino film. Takes place sort of the birth of the mob in Sicily. So, yeah, definitely want to check this one out at some point. Terrence Stamp, Joss Ackland, John Turturro. Great cast altogether. I've had this one sealed for more than a decade. So, yeah, story of my life. Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. Great Andy Garcia gangster film. Again, post-Tarantino. Christopher Walken in a great performance. Christopher Lloyd. Just so many great actors in this, and a really quirky gangster film. To the heist movies. Dead Presidents. Awesome movie. Very ingrained in hip-hop culture. This is a Hughes Brothers film. Great movie with Lorenz Tate in a great performance. Keith David as sort of the one who gets them the jobs. Straight up heist film, man. Such an awesome movie. Very intense. Dillinger. 70s gangster film with a terrible cover. This is, who wrote this? John Milius. Actually, he directed it too. Yeah, John Milius, who would go on to write Conan the Barbarian. Great movie. Warren Oates in the lead role as Dillinger. Ben Johnson in this one as well. Great movie. Very violent for the time. Sort of post Bonnie and Clyde. Great train robbery. Very slow burn of a heist film, but great performances. Is a Michael Crichton story. Who directed this? Was it? Oh, Michael Crichton. Okay, yeah, so Crichton directed that one. Really great movie. Gene Hackman, Heist, Danny DeVito, David Mamet film. Really cool. Killing Zoe. This is one nobody talks about. One I saw as a teenager when I was getting into all this crime, gangster, heist movie stuff. Eric Stoltz. This is sort of it's written by Roger Avery, who helped write Pulp Fiction, some of the stories with Tarantino. And that's what led me to this as a kid, because I was like, ooh, I love, Pulp Fiction. And this is a heist film with a ton of style, some really cool imagery. Eric Stoltz, a great performance. And yeah, Roger Avery does a good job with this movie. It's tense, it's stylistic, a good script with interesting dialogue. Killing Zoe, nobody talks about it. Definitely not on Blu-ray. Check it out. LA Takedown. Oh, I'm talking about so many movies. I'm sorry. This is going to be long. LA Takedown. Michael Mann did this before Heat. This is the prototype of Heat. It's basically the same story, same character names, but he did it for TV, sort of getting his footing, and then he got the budget and made one of the greatest films of all time with Heat. Definitely, probably the greatest heist movie of all time. Heat with De Niro, Pacino, Val Kilmer. One of my favorite movies ever. Such a phenomenal film with a phenomenal score. And just a great story. So this was the original version of that. Nobody knows this exists. So now you do. Ocean's 11. It's weird. I own Ocean's 13 on Blu, but I own Ocean's 11 on DVD and 12 on DVD. Ocean's 11 being the best. This is the original with the Rat Pack, Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr. Haven't seen that one, but I have seen all three of the newer Ocean's films, and I do enjoy them.